St. Augustine, Florida, lays its claim to being the oldest city in the United States. Founded in 1565 by Spanish explorers, the city has a rich history, which lends itself to the many attractions within the city. On our visit to St. Augustine last December, we decided to visit the famous lighthouse. Join us on this adventure as we climb the 219 spiraling steps leading up to the lighthouse observation deck and walk the lighthouse grounds to see what else this attraction has to offer. The St. Augustine Light Station is an active working lighthouse in St. Augustine, Florida, which stands at the north end of Anastasia Island. The lighthouse was built between 1871 and 1874. The light station grounds are owned by the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, Incorporated, a not-for-profit maritime museum. The museum is open to the public 360 days a year. Admission fees support the continued preservation of the lighthouse and 5 other historic structures. When we visited this lighthouse, there were quite a few more visitors than our experience at the Ponce Inlet Lighthouse in 2020. We had a short wait in line outside since the lighthouse structure had an occupant capacity restriction. The small rooms at the base of the lighthouse displayed various artifacts that a lighthouse keeper would use on their day-to-day duties. The grounds was also very festive during the holiday season, with Christmas trees everywhere. The St. Augustine Lighthouse used various types of oil from its time it was built in 1874 until 1936, when electricity was connected to the lighthouse. Whale oil, lard oil, and kerosene were at one time primary fuel sources. Lighthouse keepers would climb the stairs both day and night to keep the lens rotating and the light burning.
Us being here at Christmas time, we've got the Christmas tree. And you can go all the way up there. You get to the top of the lighthouse. It has 219 steps, which is equivalent to climbing a 14-story building.
On some of the levels going up to the lighthouse, they had some interesting facts about the lighthouse and some interesting history about some of the lighthouse keepers.
Steps aren't as bad as Tallulah Gorge. We'll see how ways to go. All right, let's go. So as you're going up, you get these little markers that tell you how many more steps you have left and how many steps you've taken.
Climbing all 219 steps was worth it. Just look at that spectacular view. In 2002, ownership of the Lighthouse Tower and its historic Fresnel lens was transferred from the U.S. Coast Guard to the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Museum. This was the first such transfer of a U.S. lighthouse to a nonprofit organization. The museum keeps the light burning as a private aid to navigation. The lighthouse's Fresnel lens is a massive assembly of glass and brass. It is in an enclosed protected space at the top of the tower. The lens itself is over 9 feet tall, weighs over 200 tons, and is comprised of over 370 hand-cut glass prisms. Today, an electric motor turns the first-order Fresnel lens. Before 1936, the rotation of the lens was accomplished with a clockwork mechanism. It consisted of a large 270-pound weight in the bottom of the tower attached by a cable to the top. At the top, the cable wrapped around a metal drum. The keeper would crank this drum and raise the weight as the cable wrapped around the drum. When the weight fell, it rotated the drum, which turned the gears that turned the lens. During the years that lighthouses required keepers to maintain the tower, the job was mostly a male role. However, the performed duties became that of the whole household. Historically, lighthouse keepers were needed to trim the wicks, replace fuel, wind the clockworks, and perform maintenance tasks such as cleaning lenses and windows. Wives and children were quite involved. Often they tended the garden, fed livestock, managed supplies, inventoried equipment, and no doubt kept that light on, no matter what. Most objects found at a shipwreck look like lumps of rock in the ocean called concretions. Maritime archaeologists will x-ray these concretions to see what items are inside that lump of crustacean buildup. The St. Augustine Lighthouse has a shipwreck artifact conservation lab where they remove the crustaceans and clean up these hidden artifacts.
This guy is using a Dremel to clean the crustaceans off of this artifact they found in the ocean. Very interesting.
Did you know that lighthouses are painted differently to help sailors differentiate each lighthouse? This will help a sailor during the day know their location, and at night, sailors will rely on the light sequence and the color of light as their reference. During World War II, the Coast Guard trained in St. Augustine. They used the lighthouse as a lookout post for enemy ships and submarines which frequented the coastline. There is a really nice Coast Guard exhibit on the lighthouse grounds. From 1939 to 2020, portions of the lighthouse were owned by the U.S. Coast Guard before being transferred to the museum.
You guys are animals, right? Did you guys know that American forces had a secret program to disguise plastic explosives as flour? They could make goods with it and then use the goods to blow things up. I definitely need to stay out of that kitchen.
Yeah, I really like baked goods, and I think
The bears reference the army of the private, so it's always a powerful lot in battle.
people wear favorable. So, Canada is absolutely wonderful, right?
As we were leaving the lighthouse grounds, we were lucky enough to witness this gentleman proposing to his future wife at the base of the lighthouse steps. And while Miss Kayak 7 Seas did not get a shiny ring from our trip to the lighthouse, she did get a smashed commemorative penny to add to her collection. Thank you for joining us on our visit to the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum. If you're ever in the area, I highly recommend visiting, climbing the 219 steps, and seeing the spectacular views for yourself. Be sure to check out all the exhibits. If you like this video, click on that like button. If you're new to this channel or have not yet subscribed, consider clicking on that little red subscribe button to keep up with our travels. If you missed our kayaking adventures, we'll be kayaking the St. Augustine area in next week's video. Until the next time, hope to see you out on the water someday.